During last week's Formula 2 race at Monza, Gabriele Bortoleto and Dennis Hauger crossed the finish line at exactly the same time to the nearest thousandth of a second, meaning they shared the singular point on offer for 8th place, getting half each. This phenomenon of drivers sharing positions is completely unprecedented in the modern era of open-wheel formula racing, as usually fractions of a point are only awarded when a race finishes before 75% of the scheduled distance has been completed. However, back around the time when F1 was just getting started, such occurrences were commonplace. For the first decade or so after the competition's inaugural season in 1950, due to the catastrophic reliability of racing cars of the time, drivers were permitted to take over one of their teammates' machines during a pit stop, usually when theirs had broken down. If the replacement managed to make their way into a top 5 position, the points accumulated from that finish would be shared between the driver who started the race in their own vehicle and the one who took it over. This happened countless times, such as during the 1951 French Grand Prix, where pre-war racing legend Luigi Fagioli was ordered to hand his car over to his junior teammate Juan Manuel Fangio. Fagioli was so apoplectic with rage about a competitor of his calibre being asked to step aside that despite Fangio going on to win the race driving his car, he retired from Formula 1 racing immediately at the age of 53. There were other examples of shared drives ending with wins and two teammates sharing the 8 points on offer for a victory, but arguably the strangest race in F1 history when it came to this sort of thing was an instance where the winner was in fact in control of his machine throughout the entire event. Let me tell you the story of the 1955 Argentine Grand Prix, the craziest race in F1 history. The 1955 Formula 1 season was a transitional one for many reasons. Reigning drivers' champion Juan Manuel Fangio had made a mid-season switch the year prior from Maserati to the new Mercedes-Benz Works team led by Alfred Neubauer, and the only other multiple-time champion in the field, Alberto Ascari, was entering his first full-time campaign with the new Lancia outfit piloting the revolutionary D50 design. Joining the new Daimler operation, alongside the experienced Fangio, was the young Brit Stirling Moss, whose marquee result at this point in his career was a third place at the 1954 Belgian Grand Prix, as well as returning German competitors Karl Kling and Hans Hermann. After the late-season departure of Ascari, the Ferrari team only had two consistent competitors who would drive for them in 55, those being the Frenchman Maurice Trintignant and the 1950 world champion Giuseppe Farina. The first race of the year would take place in Argentina at the Autodromo Municipal Ciudad de Buenos Aires circuit, a track which is now named after Oscar and Juan Galvez, arguably the most successful brother pairing in Latin American racing history. As was commonplace in F1 up until the early 1980s, the season started right as the year began, with the opening round of 1955 taking place on the weekend of the 16th of January. This time period was in the Argentine summer, and air temperatures would reach 40 degrees Celsius, meaning it would take a tough toll on the drivers. Aware of this potential problem, home hero Fangio acclimatised himself to the extreme heat by moving back to his natal country a month before the Grand Prix, and he only drank 1 litre of water per day to help him cope with dehydration. Heading into the weekend itself, the Mercedes quartet of Moss, Kling, Hermann and Fangio were entered into the event, while Ferrari brought along both Trintignant and Farina, as well as two-time race winner José Froilán González and the Italian Umberto Maglioli. The young French driver Jean Berrat drove for the established Maserati Works outfit, along with Luigi Musso, Sergio Mantovani, Harry Schell and another Argentine, Roberto Mieres. Another two local competitors, Carlos Menditagui and Clemar Bucci, entered for the Italian team. The new Lancia project was being led by the successful Ascari, along with his ex-teammate at the Scuderia, Luigi Villaresi, and the young 24-year-old Eugenio Castellotti. The outdated French Gordini team fielded Elie Bayol and two more local drivers, those being Pablo Birher and Jesus Iglesias. Alberto Uria was the only privateer entry in the field, driving his own Maserati. It was González who took pole position for the race, half a second clear of Ascari, with Fangio third. Jean Berrat put his car fourth on the grid, followed by Farina's Ferrari in fifth place and Karl Kling's Mercedes in sixth. Harry Schell was seventh, followed by Moss, Birher and Hans Hermann rounding out the top 10 starters. The Lancia pairing of Villaresi and Castellotti were on what would be the modern-day sixth row of the grid, followed by Menditagui, Trintignant and the second Gordini of Bayol. Mieres and Iglesias were 16th and 17th, then the final 4 drivers on the grid were Musso, Mantovani, Bucci, and the privateer Uruguayan Uria, who was 9 seconds off the pole time in last. At the start, Fangio quickly assumed the lead as Ascari held his second position, then came a fast starting Stirling Moss, who was up 5 places in third. Gonzalez had dropped back to 4th, while Farina was 5th, and both Menditagui and Beardhead were taken out by accidents on lap 2, followed by Berda and Kling, who succumbed to the same fate soon after. Ascari overtook the leading home hero on lap 3, then a resurgent Gonzalez made his way into the top position shortly after, and held that place until the 10th tour of the track. The Italian reassumed first from there until lap 20, when he lost out to the Pampas Bull, then crashed out after making a mistake on the 22nd time round. The other Lanciers weren't faring much better, as Villarace's car had a fuel leak early on, meaning he took over Castellotti's machine around the same time Ascari lost the lead. Moss had problems with his fuel feed shortly after, then Villarace crashed out and Trantignon's engine started playing up too. It was at this point in the event, though, that the extreme heat was beginning to take its toll on the competitors. An exhausted Farina gave up his car to Maglioli, then Gonzalez also came into the pits and handed over to Farina, who had managed to have a little break. Fangio came in, not to make a switch but instead to drink some water, which allowed both Harry Schell and Roberto Mieres to lead laps, although the American soon handed his machine over to his teammate Berra. Mieres then dropped back due to a technical issue of his own, putting his compatriot Fangio back in the lead. The Maserati, piloted by Mantovani, Berra and Musso, dropped out on lap 54 with engine problems, leaving just 7 cars on track, while Gonzalez reeled in Fangio. The fat Argentine then had an off which scuppered his chances of victory as he handed over to Farina in the closing laps. Fangio crossed the finish line first, claiming 9 points to start his championship challenge as he also got fastest lap, while Farina came home second in a car also driven by both Gonzalez and Trantignon. The Italian veteran's original car, the one he started the Grand Prix in, finished third after Maglioli later gave it up to the Frenchman Trantignon himself. 4th place was taken by a Mercedes shared by all the 3 remaining Daimler drivers, Hermann, Kling and Moss, then 5th was Mieres, who was the only competitor other than Fangio to remain in his own car for the entire race. The further behind Argentine was also 5 laps down on the race winner, while another shared Maserati of Schell and Berra was the first machine to complete the event outside of the points, 8 tours adrift of the leader. 7th place and the last finishing machine was another Trident team car. No, not the modern junior Formula outfit, and this was a triple threat, with Musso, Mantovani and Schell. All other entries retired from the event, and 16 driver changes were made, with 2 and sometimes even 3 people sharing a vehicle. Furthermore, the hottest race may not have affected the legendary Fangio enough to make him do a swap, but it did injure him, as his right leg often rubbed against the chassis frame, which was being heated by the exhaust, a problem that he suffered from for the whole 96 laps and 3 hours. Imagine touching leather seats in your car after it's been boiling hot all day and you sit down, except probably twice as worse and for a much longer period of time. Not only did the shared drives cause problems for the drivers though, the constant chopping and changing was a nightmare for officials too, as all swaps for the top 5 competitors would be necessary to document, as the points would have to be equally distributed between the individuals who drove in each particular chassis. This was an easy task for calculating the scores of Fangio and Mieres, as the 2 home drivers were oh so kind enough to be immune to heat exhaustion, but from 2nd to 4th it was more chaotic than Christian Horner's WhatsApp conversations. Or Nikita Mazepin's messages on Grindr. Anyway, so El Maestro got 9 points for first, then the runners-up position was held by Gonzalez, Farina and Trantignon. The 6 points usually added to an individual's tally was equally assigned to all of them, so the trio got 2 each. Then third on the road also had 3 drivers sharing the score, except somehow it became even more confusing, as 2 of those who shared the 2nd place car also drove the 3rd place machine too. Farina and Trantignon both finished in 2nd and 3rd place, while Maglioli tagged along with the bronze medal. This got even more convoluted when you realised that as 4 points were usually awarded for the final podium slot, it meant that each of them shared 1 1/3 points each. 4th place saw Moss, Kling and Hermann get 1 each, while Mieres got 2. This meant that reigning champion Fangio led the standings on 9 points, while Trantignon and Farina were equal on 3 1/3 each. Gonzalez was equal with Mieres on 2, but the former finished higher, so was ahead in the championship. Maglioli was 6th in the standings on 1 1/3 points, then came Moss, Kling and Hermann equal on 1. This is the craziest race in F1 history due to its completely unique set of circumstances. It didn't have loads of overtakes like Zandvoort in 2023 or crashes like Monaco in 1996 or 1969, nor was it the scene of an underdog winner like Brazil 2003 or something like that. There are countless lucky victories, attritional events, and crazy side-by-side fests, but there has never and will never be another race like the 1955 Argentine Grand Prix. It outlines everything that was crazy about this era of Formula 1 before the competitors became global superstars and athletes with chiseled bodies. Instead, it was lunatics lumbering around in understeery and badly engineered hunks of metal without any concern for theirs or anyone else's safety. Anyways, with that being said, I think that brings today's video to a close. I hope you enjoyed me detailing how much of a crazy race the 1955 Argentine Grand Prix was, and if you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to see more content from me in the future. You can also subscribe to my Patreon if you'd like to see exclusive content, get videos a day early, and have an opportunity to converse with me personally for as little as $1 per month. Big shout out to my already existing Patreon subscribers, Andy Lamberts, Eamon Al Dowdy, and George Stratford, and you can also follow my X/Twitter account where I post boiling hot lava takes on F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR, and follow my Instagram for behind the scenes updates. With my shameless plugging over though, I'm Nedzo, and I'll see you all later. Bye!